I think we're live. I think we finally did it.
This is the biggest cluster since
I hope
Game of
everybody
Thrones
can
finale and Money in the Bank.
Oh, I got to mute. Okay. I had the window. I tried to have the window open, and I was going to do this whole thing too because I found I got this classic WWE Championship belt here a while ago.
I think I had that as a kid, actually.
And then I found this one at Party Tree. So I was going to call myself Dirty Two Belts. I was going to have this whole intro about me as Dirty Two Belts. And then the whole thing went retarded. It went mentally challenged. You can't say that anymore.
Oh, yeah. Now you've dug yourself a hole. Now you're going to be Dirt No Belts. You've been released. We wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Dirty Two Belts here. All right. So look, here's basically the whole thing that happened. YouTube has made a change. And so the change that YouTube made is apparently people were setting up new accounts, jumping in, and then live streaming like TV and pay-per-view events and stuff like that. So they've changed the rules. So you have to have at least 100 subscribers on your channel in order to live stream from your channel. Now, the thing is, the Transitional Champion podcast was not set up as its own channel. It was set up as a sub-account of my channel. So technically, it should fall under my channel. I just set it up as a sub-account because I didn't want to have to create a new email address. I didn't want to have to, start from scratch with building an account. I'll just make it a sub-account. It can get a handful of subscribers. It doesn't matter because it's really under the umbrella of my account. Apparently, that's not how it works anymore. Because even though it's a sub-channel of my account, it still considers it a separate account. And because we haven't been relentlessly pushing for people to subscribe and constantly telling everybody you got to come and hit that subscribe button and going everywhere and saying, hey, come and subscribe to the channel, we didn't build up enough people. So it let me create the live event and it let me put in all the information.
But you just couldn't stream it.
But I just couldn't stream it. So I go to click to stream, and it's just like, too many redirects. You can't let you through.
Man, thinking about that now kind of scares me a little bit. Because granted, Beyond Retro, hey, go subscribe to that channel, by the way. We're over the 100 mark, but still, like, what if we weren't at the time? I wonder if we would have had trouble doing that.
Yeah, because anybody who starts a new channel now, you cannot start a new channel and start live streaming. You cannot live stream until you have 100 subscribers.
I mean, that does make sense because it sucks for some people though. But in most cases, people just, like you said, make those accounts. Hey, let's watch this pay-per-view,
right? And maybe Game of Thrones finale had something to do with it. I don't know.
Oh man, that would have been a waste anyway. I'm not getting into that. I don't want to be, because I saw your comment on Facebook about people. Like, it was kind of like the people complaining about Game of Thrones, and you're like those whole 3 people that I see on there that do that. So it was not good. It was not a good.
The thing is, like, I've never watched Game of Thrones. Like, I've never gone into it. It was just not my style of show. And I know a handful of people. I know a couple people that watched it, and I know of a lot more people who they watch it, but they don't talk about it. Like, they don't post on Facebook about it.
Yeah,
they don't have conversations about it. It's just something they watch along with everything else. And maybe they know I'm not interested, so they just don't talk about it around me. But they don't post on Facebook or anything, so I don't see anything from them about it. So, really, what it came down to, there were really only a couple people out of the 1,500 people I'm friends with on Facebook or whatever it is. There were like 3 people that posted something about watching it. I had more people post about the Big Bang Theory finale, but for most of them, it was just like, oh, finale, show's over. No, like, they liked it. No, they didn't like it. Nothing a lot. It's just like, yeah, I just watched the finale and now the show's over.
Happy. I'm happy that show's over too. Honestly,
it has its moments.
I mean, it does. It does. But to me, once they kind of surpassed being the nerdy guys, and it's nerdy guys with girlfriends and wives and kids, and
right.
I'm just kind of all right.
But the problem is that a lot of the complaints I hear about the show, not like the laugh track thing is one thing,
Yeah.
And that bothers me because there's a guy with a very distinctive laugh in the laugh track, and you can hear him on every episode because they're playing that recording. Like, I know there's a live audience there. There definitely is, but then they, pipe in some more.
It's like SmackDown. You just get the seagull,
Right.
the seagull pops.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like that is a problem. But as far as a lot of like the jokes, like I know people who have like Lord of the Rings chess sets, and they would make some sort of joke, and you'd see people on YouTube is like, how is this a joke? And you just made something Lord of the Rings and blah blah blah, and that's supposed to be a joke. But like that's like I know people who legitimately have that type of stuff. Like that is really a thing. So buying like a Mego Spock figure, buying the little transporter thing. Yeah, we do that. Like we are actually adults who buy that stuff and play with that stuff. So that makes sense. So yeah, I didn't have a problem with that, but just that laugh track was pretty horrible throughout the entire show. But
well, speaking of horrible,
horrible shows abound. So Philip says something behind me fell over. Something over here fell over? Something on the wall fell over? What are you talking about? This? Oh, this? Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Who cares? All right. So anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, right. Wrestling. Sad.
Between going from the Rumble to Mania was hard enough, and I haven't even been watching anything since Mania. Just reading results and looking at it, and I'm like, they are still on the track of doing the exact same thing every single week, and they don't care.
Well,
they don't care.
The day after Mania, I tried to watch Raw. Well, actually, we talked about this on episode 11, I guess. This is episode 12. So on episode 11, we talked about that. I watched about 10 minutes of SmackDown, about 20 minutes of Raw. That was about the most I could do, and I just couldn't take anymore. I have not watched any more since then. I have not watched a single minute until this pay-per-view. So I had no idea what was going on with some of the stuff. All I got for background was watching some of the recap videos.
You didn't miss anything. You did not miss anything.
Apparently not. But I did watch. I tried a couple times. I found, I think, the YouTube channel you were talking about that does the highlights, where it's like 13 minutes of the 3-hour Raw.
Yeah.
And so I tried to watch those, and I ended up even fast forwarding through those. I tried to watch a couple of those, but I watched those after the pay-per-view. So after the pay-per-view, I kind of went back and I was like, okay, so what was going on here? And I tried to watch some of the stuff. But as far as the pay-per-view itself, last night it kind of like we were going to do this on Tuesday. It wouldn't work on Tuesday. You had other stuff going on, so we said we'd move it to Thursday. Last night I was sitting there and I was going, oh, I need to set a reminder to do the show. I need to go into the account, set up the live event. And then I started thinking, what did happen on the show? Like, it was just 4 days ago, and I can't remember.
I hope you took notes.
It took me, well, I've got the F4W notes here, but but yeah, it took me a minute to kind of think about like what, and I remember more from Raw from being horrified at the 24/7 championship, but
we got a question.
Although the 24/7, like it has its moments. We'll talk about that though when we come.
Yeah.
Well, and also one other thing. Speaking of horrible, Delvis 78 is in the chat room. I'm gonna throw that out there. He's getting his shout out now. But yeah, so like I really enjoy Major League Wrestling. I mean, that for me has become my go-to show. I still try to watch ROH, but I don't watch it as much as I used to. The production values on it, I don't know what it is, but there's something about the way it's done. Major League Wrestling does not have a lot of money either. It is not a huge production, but there's something to me that looks better about the show, the presentation of it. Whereas ROH, there's just something about the way they present the show. I don't know what it is, but I just can't get over that, watching ECW on VHS tapes in '96 before they got a TV deal feeling.
Hey man, I like that though.
I mean, they're certain, but they have good matches.
Yeah.
But trying to watch the show, like it's usually me fast forwarding, until I get like, oh, I know this will be a good match, and then I'll watch that match. But I can't really watch the rest of the show. Whereas Major League Wrestling, I just sit down and watch the whole thing. I don't have any problem. Impact has gotten like 10,000 times better in the last month, and they lost their TV deal. Well, I guess technically they're on like the Outdoor Channel or something like that. They're on it's like a hunting and fishing channel that they're on now.
Okay.
But they also live stream on Twitch.
I see the demographic though.
And Delvis78 in the chat room, he even says, thanks for introducing me to MLW. I like it, which I'm glad to hear because, like I said, it's become my main promotion that I really enjoy watching. But Impact, they moved to, I think it's the Outdoor Channel. I'm not sure if that's right, but it's a hunting, fishing, guys doing turkey calls in a swamp. It's just like this bizarre channel. They don't really fit at all, but they also stream on Twitch. So you can watch it live on Twitch TV if you've got Twitch on your tablet or phone, or they have an app if you want to pay like $7.99 a month. You can get the Impact, the TNA app. So it's kind of like the WWE Network, their thing. So they've got all their shows available there as well. So
if I want to relive the classic faction Immortal, I can do that.
If you want to go back and watch Lockdown 2009 and see Mick Foley versus Sting, you can do that. But if you want to watch that, you can also just go to Pluto TV and watch the Impact live streaming channel that they have on there and just watch it there as well. But it's not on demand, but you can stream it. Delvis78 wants to know if the Outdoor Channel is his hometown. Apparently he lives somewhere where everybody just hunts and fishes all day. So hey, it could be worse. I mean, you could be living in the place where everybody tries to see how loud their car stereo can go, because those are worse places to even live. All right. So,
yeah,
just
jump into Money in the Bank. Let's just get through that part. I want to get through it and get it out of the way.
All right. Well, first of all, did you watch the pre-show?
No.
Okay, I did not either. This was apparently where they threw Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus the Usos in a non-title match. That was your pre-show.
Isn't it great that Daniel Bryan went from WWE champion, WrestleMania, to now he's SmackDown Tag Team Champion on the pre-show? It's how was he not on the main card?
And here's the thing: later on in the show, we did get Kalisto and Grand how do you say his name? Metalik. Metalik, yeah, whatever. And Lince Dorado versus Lars Sullivan. They couldn't make that the pre-show match. They couldn't let Lars Sullivan do the Lucha House Party beatdown as the pre-show.
Huh.
Anyway.
Now it's kind of weird thinking because Lars Sullivan's sort of been in some hot water because for past of being like racist and and everything, and now he's in a handicap match against 3 luchadors. Huh?
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm trying to figure out like if that's legit or if that was him trying to be internet heel.
Well,
because, you know what I mean? Because some guys, when they first get into wrestling, they really, when you're working with a new guy and you're trying to develop his character, the natural thing is you take their personality and you crank it up and turn it into a character. The problem is with some guys, they have a hard time once you crank them up to uncrank themselves back when they're in the real world. And
I want to say some of these posts were in regards to like years ago when he wasn't even in wrestling.
See, I was thinking they were all within the time that he started training.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but even then, again, it's the internet. Is he trying to play a character?
True.
Because you can't separate the way some people are as a character on the internet from how they develop into a character. Like some people just, once they get on a computer and they're in a chat room or they're in a forum or they're on Facebook or they're on Twitter, they just become a character that when you talk to them in the real world, that's not who they are.
I can safely tell you that Tyler Baker is exactly who he portrays himself to be on the other shows.
I don't know if that's a plus or a minus, to be honest.
Well, we'll leave that to the minds of the viewer.
All right, so shout out to Tyler Baker, Joe Amato, Fans of Power, Beyond Retro, Capes and Commentaries. There you go. And find all those YouTube channels and subscribe to them.
Yes.
Are those all separate? Did you set all 3 of those up as separate channels?
Yep. YouTube.com/Beyond Retro Podcast, where you'll find Beyond Retro and Capes Commentaries, and then YouTube.com/Fans Power Podcast is where you'll find Fans.
Right. So Capes and Commentaries is part of Beyond Retro.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't imagine having that like also separate of itself. I'm like, no.
That because when on some of those, again, trying to set up the live stream and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
But, well, with Lars Sullivan though, and there's a lot of this in internet culture, and I guess some of it makes sense to a degree to some people, but also people want to dig at stuff from like 9-10 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I can think of stuff 9-10 years ago that I posted that like someone would probably take offense to, but that's just life, right? I mean,
right. Well, and not only that,
imprint, but
it is possible. And I know this seems very hard for a lot of people to believe, but it is possible for someone to change over the course of a few years, like even 3 or 4 years. I know people who went into like high school one way, came out a different way. They go into college, they come out of college a third way. Like they are a third different person, and I can't imagine today if I was in high school and college and I had an always internet connected phone.
Oh yeah.
I know the terrible things that I said and did.
Yep.
As a person to people, I can't imagine the anonymity of being behind a phone or that ability to pretend that you're this bigger other thing.
Same here. I'm glad that when I was going through high school, we didn't it was dial-up internet at the time. Social media did not exist, and I think we were way better off back then without that. I can't imagine being in high school now and having that dynamic of social media and having like your cliques and people making fun of other people, but in different ways. Like at least before when I went, it stopped when I was out of school. At least I could go home and not have to worry about such things.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. And if you had a problem with someone at school, 9 times out of 10, you could leave for the day. And when you come back the next day, you see them and you're just like, what's up? And it's over.
Yeah.
Like you went home, you didn't see each other for 12 hours. You come back to school the next day and it doesn't matter. And it's still that way sometimes with people in the real world that I've, I don't see them for a while. There was some sort of problem. Years pass, you run into them, in the real world, and you're just like, hey, whatever. And it, it doesn't matter. Like any problems you had before are just gone. So I can't imagine being connected and always on. And the chat room brings this up. How did this talk about wrestling turn into about Wi-Fi and school and whatever? But the point is that when you hear some of the stuff about a guy like Lars Sullivan, and maybe he posted some terrible things a decade ago online, doing that doesn't necessarily reflect who he is today. It doesn't mean he feels the same way. And it doesn't necessarily mean he actually felt that way 10 years ago. There are times when you just get caught up in a situation and you may react to something a little over the top only because it's come up like 10 times in the last 2 days. So finally, the last time you were like, screw it, burn it all down. I don't care.
Burn it down.
And then 10 years later, someone's going to, find it. And that's what it is. So, yeah. And it's like, JBL got in trouble in Germany because he was a heel. And so he's like, well, I'm going to play up being a heel.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, David Bowie did the exact same thing, 2 decades earlier. And when David Bowie did it, it was like, ooh, rock star, edgy. And then JBL does it, and they're like, well, obviously, JBL's a Nazi. I mean, that's, come on, he's from Texas. I mean,
of course, he's a bit of an asshole, though.
Well, yeah, but
That's been proven at least.
the thing, if you want to talk about this, I did a whole research into the acolytes beating up Public Enemy.
Oh yeah,
Ron Simmons.
yeah, that was pretty bad.
I got into that pretty deep for about a week actually, because I'm not watching wrestling, but it's still on my mind, right? So I'm looking into all this stuff. The key thing in a lot of that JBL stuff is you go back to Ron Simmons. Ron Simmons is like his brother. Ron Simmons will tell you that they always travel together, they hang out together, they talk, they're the best of friends, they agree on everything. No problems, no heat between them, no beef, no static. They've never had a problem with each other.
Yeah.
Ron Simmons will tell you Blue Meanie getting his face punched is something the Blue Meanie deserved. He'll tell you Stevie Richards getting razzed on an airplane is something Stevie Richard deserved. He'll tell you that every time JBL has done something, the people deserved it. The other part of that story doesn't always come out because he's not a guy who complains about it. He's just a guy who takes care of business and goes home. So either Ron Simmons is just as big of a problem as JBL and everybody is reading him wrong and giving him a pass, or there's another part to the JBL story that just never gets told. And so you have to look at this as there's a lot more going on than people say.
I'm kind of glad that the culture backstage has changed quite a bit since those days.
Yeah, and I can understand
for the best.
50s, 60s, 70s when you were still trying to protect the business. It's a little different nowadays.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right.
Money in the Bank.
Back to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, we keep putting it off.
All right, so the women's Money in the Bank match, we had Naomi, Carmella, Mandy Rose, Nikki Cross, Ember Moon, Bayley, Natalya, and Dana Brooke. Okay.
And Nikki Cross replaced Alexa Bliss because she's still having some sort of issue, I guess. She threw up after having a match, so I guess.
I think she possible concussion, maybe.
Yeah, which is not good because she's had quite a few of those recently.
Yeah, and she should. It shouldn't just be an issue. Like, she was a gymnast, she was a cheerleader, whatever. So she shouldn't have any issues of like vertigo or whatever. Yeah. So if she's having a problem like that, then most likely it's a concussion or maybe pneumonia. I mean,
I pair her up with somebody, make her a manager. She can talk. Have her be the
ballet.
Yes,
actually, she should do it with Elias, but we'll get into that. Let's not talk about Elias. All right. So I will say in this match, everybody in the crowd wanted Nikki Cross to win. Ember Moon looked phenomenal. I have not seen. I think I only saw her at WrestleMania, maybe.
Yeah, she's a hell of a talent.
And I don't
really given her time to showcase it.
Yeah, and not watching the weekly shows. I don't know what matches she's had on the weekly shows, but watching her in this, like, she was out of all of these people, she was the top performer. She really Natalya is close. I don't want to downplay Natalya too much. But Ember Moon like really impressed me in this match. Carmella did the whole thing where I'm still not 100% sure if she was legit injured and they just realized it wasn't bad enough, so she came back out to do her spot later, or if that was the spot where she pretends to.
Yeah, it was a little awkward. It kept pushing Mandy Rose away.
Right, like if it was fake, I shouldn't say fake, right? You don't say that with wrestling. If it was a work, then that was probably one of the best works I've seen in a while. Because I mean, it looked like everything you would look for in whether or not it's real or not real, is exactly what they did. So either she was phenomenal at working that, or she legitimately got hurt. They took her to the back. They ran some stuff. They had her put some weight on it. She's like, I'm okay to go out there and do the spot. So she went back out to do the spot, and that was it. So anyway, so the big thing here was that Bayley went up, got the briefcase. They had someone come down to interview her, and she mentioned Sasha Banks, and the crowd booed like you would not believe. Nobody likes Sasha Banks anymore. So,
well, I mean, if you're gonna sit there and kind of throw a fit just because you thought you were promised something and you weren't, and you didn't get to hold a championship long. And you can always, I've said it before, I think on this show, you can always tell if she's the champion and she's going to lose, because in her entrance, you can always see it. Like, she's mad. You can always tell. She just has that face.
Maybe she just has that resting witch face.
No, because it's completely different when she's going into a match and you know she's going to win. And I guess I understand being wrapped up in that world, and maybe to certain people, wins and losses are important to them. Right. But at the same time, it's a job, it's work. You're still going to get paid the same amount no matter what.
Yeah, yeah. Every report I've seen was that she was pissed because she thought they were going to hold the tag belts for like a year, and it didn't happen. So
very rarely does that happen anymore, because people get bored of that sort of thing.
Unless you're the $6 million man, Brock Lesnar. All right. Yeah. We had a Sami Zayn thing backstage. Triple H said that Strowman was banned from the building. So that was okay, whatever. They had Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title. This was their WrestleMania rematch, and it was about as long as the WrestleMania match. Basically, Rey did a was it a senton? Is that what he did? He did whatever. He did some flip onto Joe's face and busted his nose, and blood just starts like gushing out of Joe's nose. And so the referee is like kind of looking at like, how bad is this? How bad is this? And then he kind of leans in. He's like, go 1, 2, 3. It's done. And it looked like Joe had his shoulder up so that they could, do another rematch. They could set up for another rematch. So Joe had his shoulder up, but he got counted as down, so he lost the title. So that sets up for the rematch, but they went home early. Dominic was out there. Apparently he was supposed to do something, but they went to the go home early, and he didn't understand what was going on. So they're like, get in here. And he like wouldn't get in, and he didn't understand. And so then finally Joe leaves and he gets in, and it was just a huge mess.
Yeah.
But it's the that's one of the problems of the PG era, is that as soon as that blood hits, it was enough. It wasn't like a cut on the forehead where he could roll to the outside and they could have a guy run up and put a Band-Aid on it, and the referee just puts on the gloves and they go back to work and finish the match. This was a gusher. Like, you would have had to, have big cotton balls and gauze tabs sticking out of his nose. You can't do that while you continue to wrestle. So,
right.
So that was it. He had to go.
A nice lengthy run Joe had.
But it looked like it was, the first 90 seconds looked like it was going to be a good match. Probably the number 2 match of the night. We got Braun Strowman, and he was backstage, and he was throwing things around, and he was looking for Sami Zayn. So apparently he was not banned from the building, and Triple H lies.
They need to figure him out. It's a shame. They should have pulled the trigger on him a long time ago to like give him some sort of title run or something to do, and now he's just sort of stuck in this same spot. Like him, Baron Corbin, Lashley, all those guys are just stuck in the same weird spot, the same area, and it's never gonna change because they don't want to do anything different with them, and that's a shame.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, really, what else can you do with Strowman except have him be the big, mean guy? I mean, you don't want to make him a comedy guy. I mean, all you can do is make him the next Giant,
True. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just... I don't know.
He can crush a car, though, and then you can buy the toy.
Yeah. I still see those on the shelf at Target every time I go. So it's definitely selling very well.
Mr. Hoity-toity, I shop at Target. I go to Target.
There is a distinct difference in the crowd when you go into a Target and when you walk into a Walmart. There really is.
But the crowd at Target can be just as weird as the ones at Walmart.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, like I see these memes where it's like, I don't color my hair green because I'm trying to get attention. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do. Like, there's no reason to say, you know what? I want my hair to look like a Crayola crayon out of the box of 64, but I don't want to draw attention to myself. That's Target in a nutshell. Tumblr. Target should just buy Tumblr, because that's what Target. I'm pretty sure that 99% of the T-shirts you see at Target with like some hip little phrase on it came from a Tumblr post. But anyway,
you really hate Target, don't you?
I just can't today. Okay.
I don't buy T-shirts at Target. I just go there for the NECA toys.
I just go looking for clearance video games, and then occasionally.
Dude, you know what? I haven't seen, because they have a very small clearance, because they have it like department by department. So in mine, they have it like in behind the game aisle. I haven't seen a video game over there on clearance in months.
Well, our store, apparently, we get a lot of the online orders that are wrong and people return, and for some reason they come to our store. So we have a section in the back by the big doors that the workers are always pushing carts in and out of. There's an end cap back there, and it's full of stuff that's just like online returns. I don't know why our store must be like the one in the region that they all come to.
Yeah,
but that's where you find some good stuff.
Yeah, I wish we had that, but I have a general feeling that this area, not so much. You're in a higher populated.
It's 100,000 people. I mean, it's not that high populated. But anyway, all right.
Yeah. All right.
Although we are in the nexus kind of between Indianapolis and Chicago and St. Louis, and Peoria's nearby and Champaign. So we are kind of like in the middle of all these spots. But anyway, Delvis says that Strowman needs to use the torture rack to submit people.
That'd be all right.
I could see that.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
He's big enough that he could pretty much lift anybody up.
Yeah.
All right. They had Mick Foley announcing that there's going to be a new title on Raw. We will talk about that title later. But of course, when you see Mick Foley announced as a guy bringing the title, what's your first thought?
Hardcore title.
Exactly. You think it's going to be?
But we're in PG era, so then I'm like, well, those matches wouldn't be that fun.
So they did the PG equivalent, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
All right. We had Triple H. Oh no! First we had Tony Nese and Daivari for the cruiserweight title.
Yay! Finally, cruiserweight matches on the main card. How about that?
I don't know if anybody really thought Daivari was going to win.
No.
It just seemed like the crowd. I don't know. The crowd wasn't really into it.
It's funny how they keep cruiserweight matches on the pre-show, and then when they finally decide, hey, you know what? Let's put it on the main card. The match is Tony Nese versus Daivari.
So, did Buddy Murphy get moved up to the main roster or anything?
I want to say he got drafted to SmackDown.
Okay, all right. I was going to say, because that would be the one reason why he should have dropped the title.
But I don't think he's even been on an episode since the Superstar Shakeup. I was about to call it the draft, but they don't call it.
Yeah, they don't call it the draft anymore.
Yeah.
Because I guess SmackDown. The military doesn't like it or whatever.
Yeah, he's on SmackDown.
Okay, all right. Gentleman Jack is in MMA now, says Delvis78. Who's
Gentleman Jack Gallagher?
Oh, Jack. Okay. All right. They had Triple H talking to Strowman. He said Zayn had been knocked out. Strowman denied that he did it. Triple H said, you can't be in the match because you took out Sami Zayn. Strowman denied doing it. Triple H told him to leave. He's not going to call the police, but he told him to just leave. And so Strowman left. And then they said Zayn was taken to a local medical facility.
Yeah, because they can't say hospital.
Well, he may have been taken to a veterinary clinic. I mean, it's a medical facility. He got taken to a lens crafters. They do eye exams. That's a medical facility. All right. Soon to be a place where they will defend the 24/7 championship. All right. We had Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's title. Because Becky has two belts, so they decided to do two matches, one for each belt, as opposed to one match for both belts or a three-way for both belts.
Honestly, I prefer the way that they did it over having another triple threat match, just because.
I'd like to see it become like boxing, where it's just like you're like the undisputed, so you have both the belts. You know what I mean? So just walk around with both belts. They can break them up at some point in the future, but have the two belts follow for a while, I think would be an interesting way of doing it. But anyway, so all this time they've pushed Lacey Evans. It turns out she can't wrestle.
Oh, hey, go figure.
That was interesting. So they kept doing all this stuff, setting her up. I don't know if she's had matches on TV or not, if any of them have happened, and if they've looked.
She's had matches on NXT,
but before,
I think other than the Rumble and maybe some house show matches, she definitely hasn't had any on Raw.
Yeah. This match was not good.
Yeah.
Becky could not save this match. So then Charlotte Flair came out and they had the immediately follow-up match for Becky's other title, for the SmackDown Women's title, which is Charlotte Flair. So it was okay. It was definitely better than the last one. Let's see. Flair ended up kicking her in the face and getting the pin. So now Charlotte took the SmackDown title back and Becky has the Raw title. So,
but wait.
So then Becky Lynch gets mad and attacks Lacey Evans, but then Flair jumps in and helps out. So Flair and Evans work together to beat down Lynch. So then Bayley ran in with the briefcase.
Was it hard to tell who was who between Lacey and Charlotte, by the way?
It's like, well, they did a match. What was it? It was Liv Morgan versus Alexa Bliss, I think. Maybe no, it wasn't Alexa Bliss. It was Mandy Rose. Maybe one time they did one, and if it wasn't for the pigtails, it's like once they start rolling up and flipping, it's like you have no idea who they are. But anyway, yeah. So then Bayley comes in, attacks Flair. She's used the briefcase to cash in. It becomes a match. She ends up winning the title in like 20 seconds. So Charlotte Flair is now a 9-time women's champion.
Wow.
And she has to get to 17 because that's Ric Flair's official count.
Well, she'll be there by about July.
I was going to say, she'll be there in a couple of months. But the crowd really did like Bayley winning. They really got behind her. She jumped in the crowd, just like when she was celebrating with the briefcase. The crowd, they really like her. I'm not one of those people, but if the crowd's reacting positively to it, then fine, Well,
the crowd always want to be behind her. The crowd loved her in NXT, but it's just the way that they have booked her and written her character that over time, like, it just diminishes that aspect of it, which is the most important part of professional wrestling.
Well, there's only so much you can do with like non-stop positivity. Positivity. You know what I'm saying? Positivity.
Hey, man. The New Day's still going pretty strong. They're still over. People still like them. People haven't really tired of them yet.
Yeah, but they changed it up. They did different stuff. Like they brought in different things over time. They came out dressed as anime characters for a while. They came out as Saturday morning cartoon stars for a while. They came out as rainbows and unicorns for a while. They were throwing donuts and cereal and toasts and bacon to the crowd. They had an ice cream machine. Like, it changed. Whereas Bayley is just like, it's Bayley. And sometimes they have the wavy guys from the used car dealership out there.
True.
But otherwise it's just that exact same
thing. I'll admit that she does need to have a different dynamic to her character, but I'm just saying the crowd, despite that, still wanted to be behind her, but the way that they book her, how can you not kind of, well, all right, well, maybe she's, meh. And that's the problem. They've made it to when people come out, or a vast majority of it's just like, nah.
Well, that's another problem though. That's just like
Yeah.
That's a 5 hours of Raw and SmackDown every week problem.
Yeah, that too.
Ugh. Yeah, and For the Gamer says, but I like those wavy people from the car dealership. So, all right. Well, anyway, but she won and she's the winner. All right. This next part was awesome. I love this. So they show Roman Reigns walking backstage, doing his things, and Elias just kind of walks out from behind and just whacks him with the guitar and leaves him on the ground and just heads out to the ring. So I thought that was great. I laughed hysterically at that whole thing. So Elias comes out and he has an electric guitar because he broke his acoustic. He's able to do his bit. I was talking before about how he had that older Macho Man beard. He's starting to kind of look like Macho Man. He's got like the grimace in his forehead that he's working on. He came out and he had the jacket with all the tassels hanging down, that Macho Man. If you remember when Macho Man would come out and pose with that jacket with all the stuff hanging down, he had one of those jackets. So I think Elias is slowly turning in. If he can get the do-rag and the big goggle glasses, then he's set. He's got a gimmick to play off of.
Great. I'm sure at some point they'll just turn him into Macho Man.
I'm fine with that, though. I mean, if there's someone I'd like to see more of, I mean, it would be Macho
Was
Man.
Damien Sandow as Macho Man long enough for you?
Was that during? But he was doing the Miz thing too at the same time, wasn't he?
No, this was after the Miz thing.
He'd been tainted. He'd been tainted already.
It's when he was teaming up with Curtis Axel, and Axel Mania was running wild.
Elias is like a beefcake hipster. Do you mean beefcake like Brutus beefcake, or beefcake like cut
Buff.
Beefcake?
I'm gonna go with Buff Bagwell.
He's like a Buff Bagwell hipster. So anyway, Elias came out. He did his whole little bit. It was great. I enjoyed the segment. It was dumb, but that's what I wanted. Then he goes to walk up the stage. Out comes Roman Reigns from nowhere, hits him with the Superman punch, lays him out. That's it. So anyway, it was a fun segment. It was nice to see a change up a little bit, but to see Roman Reigns just like walking down the hallway doing his thing and like, here comes a guitar, whack, and just takes him out. I laughed. I lulled legit. All right. Next, we got the one like actually good 5-star match on the show, and this was Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the Universal title.
Shocker.
This was the one match. If you haven't seen the show and you're thinking, is there anything to go back that's worth watching? Start with when you see Roman Reigns walking backstage, and then just watch through the end of the Universal title match, and then turn it off. Just watch that little chunk, because this match should have been the main event. Of course, it's not, because they had the big swerve at the end they wanted to show. But this was everything you want from a main event match. It had good psychology. It had good energy. They worked the crowd. They did near falls when it made sense to have near falls. I mean, this was a beautiful match. This would probably be one of the best matches of the year, I'm guessing.
Dare I say WrestleMania caliber main event style match?
Yes. In fact, they should have had this match at some point on WrestleMania. We did not get this, but Delvis78 says, now I want to see this match because I don't think Rollins wrestles well. His style isn't always for everybody, but I can say that working with AJ Styles in this match, I don't know, maybe AJ Styles brought something out of Seth Rollins. Maybe Dean Ambrose leaving has just like lit kind of a fire under Seth Rollins. I don't know. But I mean, it was a good match. It was fantastic.
I would say Seth Rollins has always been a very consistent worker. I've always liked his style. Granted,
I mean, there are times when he seemed kind of lazy. Like there were times, especially towards the end when Dean Ambrose was getting ready to leave, and you could tell that they're just like they were both just kind of like going through the motions. They were both just kind of bummed out about everything, and they weren't really working that hard. But for the gamers wants to know if we're going to do an end of the year top 10 2019 WWE matches. No.
oh God,
No.
yeah, no, that would
Never.
that would require me to actually put thought into like finding good matches throughout the year, and I just
maybe we could do top 3, but I don't know that there could be 10. Like you'd have to really be scrounging when you get down to some of those. top 5 maybe, but
I mean, my favorite match of all time is Melina versus Alicia Fox from SummerSlam. So
what?
I love that whole jeez.
That was Naomi, wasn't it? I'm pretty
no,
sure.
No, it was the other Funkadactyl, Cameron.
That was hilarious though. All right. Well, and I couldn't believe like Stone Cold. It was like all the life just like drained out of him. Just had that look like seriously. Oh, I hear dogs. All right. We had okay. This was the Lucha House Party getting beat up by Lars Sullivan. This was the one thing in this that was really different, I guess you could say, is that Lars Sullivan legit headbutted Kalisto, and he opened like this gash in his forehead. And we talked earlier, Joe got smashed in the face and all the blood coming out of his nose. You couldn't really do a whole lot for that. Lars gashed his head open, but that is one of those things that you can kind of tamp down on, and you can kind of cut the bleeding a little bit. So there wasn't really a whole lot going on there. He was still pretty bloody, but it was just him beating up all 3 of them and then standing over him, and he had some blood on his face, and he looked pretty brutal. And it did the job of making you go like, wow, this guy is pretty tough, but that doesn't make it a good match necessarily. In fact, it wasn't. I don't know if the bell even rang. To be honest with you, he just beat up these dudes.
Is there a part of you that thinks that inevitably they're going to build it to where it will be him versus Strowman? I see that it's kind of where the direction it would head.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to imagine that would happen at some point, just because they're both like unbeatable big dudes.
I got it. Braun Strowman joins Lucha House Party. You're like, these are my friends, and they have like comedic backstage segments.
Wait, if he can but he needs a mask. He needs one. Like if you remember when CM Punk had the mask,
I think it'd be cooler.
CM Punk had that big beard at the time, so it was like a 3/4 like Batman style without the ears.
Do you remember when Rey Mysterio lost his mask to it was in that tag match to Nash and Hall, and Nash put on his mask, and it was just like, that's what I want him to do.
So we need Braun Strowman to get a mask and join Lucha House Party. In fact, that would even be a great they win the tag belts, and you never know. Out of the 4, it'll be like Freebird rules. You never know who's going to be part of the team, and so like you'll have 2 guys standing there watching, waiting, and they come out and like Kalisto and Grand Metalik are wearing the belts, and so they're like, "Whew, it's not Braun Strowman." And so then they get in the ring and they ring the bell, and then the 2 wearing the belts jump out of the ring, so it's Braun Strowman and the other guy, and they're like, "Wait, but he's not. I didn't think we were going to have to fight him." And then they get beat up by Braun Strowman.
Hey, look at that!
There you go.
Pay us, WWE.
Or they could even do him as the new Ding Dongs, right? That was was it? Wait, not the Ding Dongs. What was it? Where Andre the Giant wore the mask?
The
Machines.
Yeah,
the Machines. Yeah, that's who it was. Not the Ding Dongs, the Machines. Yeah, so they could do it as the Machines, and he could just be the Andre the Giant.
The Ding Dongs was WCW, and they had actually had bells on them. Man, what a bunch of terrible ideas they've had in the history of professional wrestling.
All right, so anyway, we got Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens for the title, and It was all right. It wasn't a bad match. It was definitely not as good as what we saw with the AJ Styles match just a few minutes earlier. So they, it's the WWE title, so of course you want to have it, towards the top of the card. But still, it just was not at the same level. And so again, it wasn't a bad match, but you watch it and you're just like, this is more like a Raw main event. It was nothing grand. They didn't do anything to really draw you into it. It was there, and it just, it passed the time. It was better than some of the other stuff on the card, but it still wasn't great. Oh, wait a minute. Did we skip? Oh, we did skip one. We totally skipped a match because I was just going to say this wasn't as bad as the terrible cage match that we didn't even talk about. We skipped right over the cage match.
Probably for the best.
Because I had forgotten all about it until this point.
How could you forget about your favorite wrestler of all time?
Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a cage match. This was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, this was everything.
What, you didn't like Mrs. Frog Splash?
Well, no. But not only that, this was everything that's wrong in a cage match where the match opens and Shane tries to run out of the cage. He gets pulled in. He fights back. He tries to run out of the cage. He gets pulled back. He fights back. He tries to run out of the cage. He gets pulled back. He fights back. And then he decides, oh, well, now I'm just going to stay and fight. And so then he just starts fighting instead of what he was just supposed to do, which was trying to escape the cage. So, he had him down, had him beat, go to escape the cage. Nah, now I'm just going to try to keep fighting. It was done. It was dumb. Shouldn't have done it. They did it. Then they had the spot where Miz goes to cover Shane, and Shane puts his foot on the rope. And so the referee's like, I can't count. His foot's on the rope. I can't count it. And so then they have the douche on commentary. Michael Cole. I can't think of his name all of a sudden. So then Michael Cole's like, there's no DQs. There's no DQs in a cage match. And it's like, but that's not a DQ. That's a rope break. Like there's a difference. Maybe he just couldn't think of the right word. Like I just now couldn't think of his name. So he just said whatever, but that was the wrong thing. And it was obviously a planned spot with as much as they were yelling about it and bringing it up. That was something that was supposed to happen. Like you're supposed to think the referee is going to give Shane these outs because Shane's the boss. And, we've seen the announcer get choked and thrown around. So the referee doesn't want to get fired on SmackDown. So they threw in this spot. But then, of course, every time after that, the referee just counts like normal. So they throw this spot in there to kind of throw some intrigue into it, but it didn't make sense in the rest of the match. So Shane trying to escape at the beginning and then not escaping didn't make sense. The foot on the rope, that didn't make sense. I don't even remember how it ended. How did the match even end? I don't remember how the match ended. And it doesn't say here in the notes. Shane won. They both climbed to the top of the cage. They teased Miz superplexing him, but Shane slipped out of his shirt, and so Shane fell to the ground. So Shane's Shane O'Mac shirt came off, and he was able to escape because Miz was holding on to it.
I think Miz works better as a heel. I think anytime he's faced, like
Miz works better as a reality TV show star, and Shane works better working for Chinese pay-per-view companies that are not wrestling related.
You remember a point in time when everyone wanted Shane to come back?
Delvis78 says, I kind of wish they would lock Miz and Shane in a cage and then kill them with fire. Fire death match. That's what they should do. I've seen them happen. Fire death match. You got to do it. Put some C4 explosive charges on there. They did it before in Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. Probably did it in an ICP show at some point. All right. So the cage was terrible. Do you have anything to add to that cage? Did you have any did anything invoke a great emotion out of you during that?
It made me want to go to sleep.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. That's something. All right. So anyway, back to the Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens. So again, it was okay. It was not great. It was what it was. And Owens, I'm kind of upset because they were playing Owens up like this. I want to say kind of like a tweener almost, and apparently they've just decided to go back to him being full heel.
Yeah.
I like the way they played with him when he was doing his return, where he wasn't a bad guy, but he wasn't really a good guy. He was like a good guy who still had a little bit of an attitude, but he wasn't a full-on villain. And now they've just gone back to him being a full-on villain, which is less interesting to me.
Yeah. He can be a good heel, but at this point, I think he was due for a refresh and change of character once he had surgery and was out for a while. And it seemed like they were going to kind of go with that and put him in a decent direction of having him be like, well, this kind of isn't fair to you. Well, let's do this and maybe kind of tease it, but just sort of, I feel like we are long overdue to have a character similar to like a Stone Cold, who I guess would kind of be a face, but he just kind of cares
Works out for himself.
Yeah.
Well, and considering they gave him the stunner, they gave Owens the stunner. So, you would think that they would push towards that direction, but apparently not. But Kofi Kingston retained. So, there you go. The Super Showdown is coming to Saudi Arabia. It's going to be bigger than WrestleMania. Does that mean it's going to be 9 hours long? I don't understand. Strowman versus Lashley, Finn Balor versus Andrade for the IC title, and more announcements coming on Raw. All right, then.
Yay.
And then we got the ladder match, which was billed now as Baron Corbin versus Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Ricochet, Ali, because he's not Mustafa anymore, and Andrade. So you technically
Andrade Cien Almas.
You had a guy missing. So they come out, they do this match. I don't know. I'm kind of ladder matches anymore. It just feels like they're doing the same thing. And considering they have a TLC pay-per-view where they do them also.
So much has been done in these matches over the last 20 years now, since they've become sort of a staple that we have to have all the time. They're not special anymore. It's the same thing with Hell in a Cell.
Well, or steel cage matches.
Exactly.
And they never use them. Like a steel cage match only works if you keep having outside interference.
Yes.
So you want a steel cage match to block the outside interference. Like that's the point. A Hell in a Cell is that you can put either two guys in there with no interference, or you put a bunch of guys in there, and so they all have to destroy each other to escape or to win or whatever it's going to be. So
this is the problem with the Attitude Era. It's why it was like we look back at it so fondly, and why the product is the way that it is now, because they went so far. We're throwing dudes off the top of these things and hitting each other in the heads with chairs and everything else. We're doing all this crazy stuff with the ladders, and now they have to dial that back, but they still have to have those matches, and it's just not the same.
Yeah, and like I get the idea of a Money in the Bank match, but that should come to play when there's no clear number one contender, when you have a bunch of people who could be the number one contender because of a bunch of different reasons. So to just throw a ladder match where they're going to get the briefcase, like it works in certain situations where you need a clearly defined number one contender, or you need a clearly defined spoiler to the proceedings, but they've turned it into too much of a wild card instead of it being like, this is now the guy that's on the hunt for the title. It now just becomes this random.
Because I guess it's easier to write for, right?
So it's easier, and then it also gives you a point where when you're creatively broke at some point down the line, you can just be like, oh well, he can cash in the briefcase, and now we got a new champion.
We got about another week and a half.
A week and a half? What, until I kill myself from watching wrestling?
No, until like they break creatively, because like, well, we don't have anything to do. Do the cash in, I guess.
All right, so the one thing that I really got out of this was Mustafa Ali gets up on. Mustafa Ali was like the guy until he got injured and lost his spot, right? And then Kofi took that spot. They keep trying to go back to Mustafa Ali, but instead of building him back into that spot, they keep trying to insert him into that spot, and nobody buys it. So in this match, everybody gets destroyed. He goes through like the announce table at one point, then everybody destroys each other. He becomes the one guy who kind of gets back up, gets in the ring, gets up the ladder. He gets up, he gets his hand on it, and nobody's buying that he's going to get this. Nobody's like excited that he's getting up there. No one believes. They're all just waiting. Okay, who's jumping up to stop him? Mm-hmm. There was no excitement. There's no drama. So then Brock Lesnar comes out, and he just stands there, and he has to stare at Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar cannot run. Like he's not built for running. He obviously doesn't do a lot of running. He just does not run. He is like the slowest runner. He runs about as fast as I run when I run. Like you're doing the look of it, like you're moving, your arms are moving, your legs, you're high kicking your knees,
But would you tell him that he can't run?
Well, if I was on the internet, I would change my handle to Lars Sullivan, and then I would tell him how horribly he runs. But so Ali has to like stand there like an idiot with his hand on the briefcase, like,
and just wait. Yeah,
here he comes. Oh my gosh, it's Brock Lesnar. Like I could grab this briefcase and just run away right now, but oh my gosh, it's Brock Lesnar. So then, of course, Lesnar comes in, defeats him. Lesnar, gets the briefcase.
I think maybe part of that reaction is because from what I've read on online reports, none of the other guys in that ladder match knew that Brock Lesnar was coming out. They were all under the impression that Ali was winning.
Right, and he was snuck into the building apparently. So people didn't even know he was there.
Yeah. So and it's bad enough that Brock is back and he's got the briefcase. So he'll cash in and probably win a championship, and then we're just right back where we've been these last 2-3 years. But to have those guys go out there and break their bodies and do all this crazy stuff in a ladder match, and then just have him come out and win it, and you're not even told beforehand.
Well, I would be
kind of hot about that. Like if I went out there and took like a really bad bump or like did something for Ali to make him look good because I'm under the impression that he's winning this thing, and then he doesn't. Oh yeah, I would be hot.
I would assume that Ali knew, like he was told, someone is going to come out and spoil it. You're not going over. Everyone else could have been told that Ali was going over, but then he probably, and it may have been right before he went out, which sucks when they do that because it's happened several times. But he was probably told, listen, you're going to climb up that ladder. You're going to go for the briefcase. Someone's going to come out to spoil it. And he may be thinking, oh, Sami Zayn, Braun Strowman, someone, from something earlier is going to come running out. Probably did not legitimately expect Brock, but also he's climbing up and going for the briefcase, and he's thinking like, who's coming? Like, is someone coming out of the crowd? I thought someone was coming out from the stage. Who's coming? And then it wasn't until he finally got his hand on it that Brock comes out. So I don't know if that was Brock, like, I'm going to build the tension and make it look, like, oh, he's really going to win. And then Brock comes out. Or
it's probably just Brock not caring. That's what I'm going to go with.
Brock, put down the ballpark, Frank, and go run out there and win that title.
I hate that they keep going back to him. Like, I understand the fascination behind it, but
and part of it is because they made him such a deal where they pay him so much that they kind of have to, and until they can get to that point where they're not paying him anymore, then
keep the championships off of him, though.
Yeah, but
he does nothing for them.
What else are you gonna do with him though? He's got to be champion. He's like the biggest guy.
No, just make him the special attraction. I mean, they do it with the Undertaker every year. Granted, Taker doesn't wrestle at Mania anymore. He just wants that Saudi Arabia money.
Yeah, well, that's good enough money, and it's far enough away.
Yeah, Undertaker versus Goldberg at that show. God, like, all
right,
maybe 20 years ago. Not now. Not now.
So summing up Money in the Bank, if you have not watched the pay-per-view, fast forward to the part where you see Roman Reigns backstage, watch until the end of the AJ Styles match,
and just
turn it off.
I give it a hearty C- grade. The only thing really that keeps it afloat
is that one match. Yeah, because I was gonna, you're right, because I was gonna give it a D. I was gonna straight up D, but as soon as I say that, it's like, yeah, but that one match was so good. It's like I can't. It's like I don't want to fail it. You know what I mean? But that one match was so, like, it's good enough for that one match. And especially like if you're paying the network, you're not paying $49.95 for this. You know, this is the network pay-per-view, so it's worth watching that. It's worth going out of your way to sit down and watch that match. But overall, the show, if you're someone who buys them on DVD, if you're one of those people, because
there are still people that do that.
People still do that. Don't buy this one. It's not worth buying to watch this one.
But they already have 378 other ones.
I know. This year I finally went through my wrestling DVDs and I pulled out like 3 of them, and I got rid of all the rest of them.
I haven't gotten rid of mine yet, but I will eventually. Most of the stuff I kept is just some of the documentaries, because it has the disc with matches, like bonus interviews and stuff like that.
I kept the ones I kept. I have a Chris Candido shoot. I kept that one.
Yeah.
I had the WWE 5-disc Ric Flair career retrospective. I kept that. I kept the Macho Man one, and I kept the Hulk Hogan, the 5-disc Hulk Hogan one. So Hulk Hogan, Flair, Macho Man, and then the Chris Candido shoot. Those are the only ones I kept. I got rid of all the others.
Yeah, but everything else is on the network. So
yeah.
Why not?
Oh no, wait! I take that back. I did keep the WrestleMania where Benoit won the title.
Yeah.
Because that's a show you'll never be able to see again.
Well, I mean, they have it on the network. They just don't openly advertise.
But they cut out the match last time I tried to watch it on there.
Did they?
Last time because at one point it used to be where you saw the breaks for the matches, and then there'd just be like this big dead area where there's no breaks. But then I went in, I tried to watch. It wasn't that one. It was it the Backlash with it was, I think, the Backlash that he was on, and they had cut out the match entirely. Maybe they keep the one on WrestleMania. I don't remember, because it's WrestleMania title match, but
I'm gonna look right now.
One of the other
I'm
ones.
Watching it right now.
Okay.
Well,
but the other thing is they always lose the rights to the music, and so they.
Yeah, that's always the weird thing.
Those are weird. All right. Well, anyway, while you look that up real quickly, I'm going to start on All Elite Wrestling, AEW. They did announce their TV deal, something that we've mentioned here on the show before, of course, that we knew from everything we've heard, it was going to be a real network, a named network. It was not going to be the Outdoor Channel or the Hiking Channel or Destination America or one of these channels that nobody's heard of.
Lifetime.
Anyway, so they announced TNT, and that was a big deal. But the big deal was not actually announcing TNT. The big deal was not that TNT is going to be the home of All Elite Wrestling. The real news that came out of the announcement is that TNT is paying for the show, which is a deal nobody else ever gets. Now, technically, you could say that TNT and TBS were paying for WCW, but that was more only because it was the same corporate umbrella. But technically, they did write checks to each other, which sounds really weird. Turner owned WCW, Turner owned TBS and TNT, but WCW still wrote checks to TNT and TBS to move the money because of whatever accounts and whatever. But in this case, AEW's show is being produced as if it's a show run by TNT. So TNT is paying for the cameras. TNT is paying for the editing. TNT is paying for the backup generators. TNT is paying the same way that they would bankroll any other show, the same way they bankroll, I don't know, Rizzoli and Isles. Like, that's the only TNT show I can think of. The same way they bankroll those shows is the same way that they're bankrolling the All Elite Wrestling show. That's not a deal that WWE gets. That's not a deal ROH gets. Well, no, I guess ROH again. It pays Sinclair and ROH. I think they pay checks to each other. It's a weird setup. But anyway,
regardless.
But this is a big promotion.
Yes.
Now here's where it gets even more interesting. TBS, TNT, all of those networks are now owned by AT&T. So AT&T is a phone provider, an internet provider, and an entertainment provider. So they own all the old Turner networks and all the stuff that came out of the AOL, Time Warner, Warner Brothers, like all of that stuff is now part of AT&T. They have their high-speed internet. I don't know how well it works. I've never used it, but they've got AT&T, and then AT&T, of course, cellular phone service and whatever. All right, AT&T now is positioned directly equal to Comcast. Comcast Universal owns NBC and the family of networks. They own USA Network. They own the Comcast cable infrastructure and the high-speed internet and the TV delivery. Oh yeah, and AT&T now owns Dish. Is it Dish Network? Yeah. Dish Network and DirecTV Now. No, DirecTV. That's what it is. DirecTV and DirecTV Now. They're part of AT&T. And Comcast, they now have their Comcast cellular service and internet. So these two companies, these two giant conglomerations, are now directly going head-to-head with wrestling. And this apparently was part of the deal that led to All Elite getting such a sweet deal, getting their show paid for, being part of that production budget coming directly from TNT, because AT&T is now looking at Comcast and saying, we are going head-to-head, and we're going to take away from your business. So they are going to be throwing money into All Elite Wrestling so that it cannot fail.
Good.
So no matter how, if it comes out and it's terrible, it's still going to be on for years with lots of money behind it. And they're just going to start writing checks, buying more talent, upgrading.
I am generally looking forward to this because it's something that we have wanted since WCW went away, which is an actual alternative with money behind it. We've had alternatives before, and we've had them since, with ROH, MLW, and everything, but not on this scale, not as something that can be looked at as like this is a competitor to WWE. We can hopefully finally have that, and I'm all right if they don't go head to head on Mondays or anything. If AEW has a show on another day of the week, that's fine. I just want there to be a product that people can look at on a big scale, because TNT reaches the same amount of people as USA does.
Right.
It's like I can't remember the number, but it is almost identical. So I hope, if you guys are tired of WWE and want something new, give these guys a chance. And I know they have Double or Nothing coming up this Saturday, and I know that it costs $50 to watch it, but I want to encourage some of you. I might even do it myself.
Yeah,
I know. I just want to support it. Like, even if the show ultimately ends up not being great, I'm like, here, I want you guys to become better, work towards something, be that direct competitor to them.
Yeah,
we need something new. We really do.
I've really been fighting with myself over whether or not I'm going to shell out for Double or Nothing, or if I'm going to wait a day or two and see what the internet can feed me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as far as the TV deal goes, they did not announce a day that the show is going to air.
It just said October, right?
Right. They just said October because Tuesday they have problems running up against the NBA, and TNT already has contractual obligations.
Yeah.
For the NBA. We know that SmackDown's moving to Friday, which is why WWE was going to put NXT on Tuesday, 205 Live. I forget which one they were moving. They were moving one of those to Tuesday. But anyway, the idea was they were going to throw a show back into the spot on Tuesday when SmackDown goes to Friday. So you have Monday, Tuesday, Friday covered by WWE, which leaves Wednesday and Thursday. And honestly, it looks like they may be pushing towards Thursday because they think Thursday is a good night for wrestling because SmackDown was on Thursday for so many years. It would just kind of make sense to put it on a Thursday night.
Oh, I thought they had NBA games on Thursday as well.
Yeah, but those may be the TBS. Or they may be able to work a deal where they air them on TBS instead of TNT or whatever. They might have some flexibility that they don't have on the Tuesday night stuff.
Regardless, it's a huge deal, and I can't wait. I look forward to it. I have a feeling Ambrose is gonna, John Moxley is gonna show up.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that he's going to be one of those where they don't announce him. You just have that surprise guy who shows up, week 2 or right at the end of week 1. Also, I'm kind of expecting a couple legends, some unnamed legends, some unnamed former WWE talent to appear.
I'm sure there will be a
and I'm not just talking like Mr. Ass and the Road Dogg. I think there's going to be like some real, maybe not. I mean, Ric Flair and Vince are so close, but maybe we could see. I don't know. Harley Race is a little too broken down, but I'm expecting to see some real wrestling legends, not sports entertainment legends, but wrestling legends that appear as part of this promotion as they attempt to give it more legitimacy as a real professional wrestling product as opposed to the sports entertainment.
Yeah. And that's what they're striving to do. They want it to be a wrestling company. I know that in the press release, and I think even before they announced the deal, they wanted to strive for wins and losses to actually mean something. I think they want to kind of implement a ranking system, which for a main product, because I know ROH used to do it. I don't know if they still do that, but to see that on a bigger scale, that at least that is something different to a casual wrestling audience that just absorbs nothing but WWE. And they've said too that they don't want it to go the way how TNA was, where one guy gets released from WWE. Well, he'll be here in like 90 days and we're right to the moon. They're like, we're not doing that, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Like, will CM Punk eventually show up there? Is he kind of lingering around and seeing how it turns out, how the TV deal goes? And then when they throw a lot of money at him, he's like, all right, I'll come back.
Are you sure he doesn't have another MMA fight to train for?
Oh, I'm sure he does.
I'm sure he does not.
He should just. I know he's got some gigs doing commentary, not for UFC. I think it's some other MMA promotion.
Yeah. All right. So then the one last thing then is we talked about Mick Foley. He announced the 24/7 champion. Now this championship title, the idea, of course, it's defended 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like the old hardcore title. So they basically took the old 24/7 hardcore title, stripped out the hardcore, made it the 24/7 championship with the most.
Somehow they made the belt uglier.
I was going to say the most ridiculous, dumb-looking belt. It looks like like a clock from a diner. It has these Art Deco panels. I think I've got a photo some here. I'm going to see if maybe I can find it. Oh, nope, that's not it. Don't do that.
Don't show that.
Well, no, I was just going to show you the screen with the chat window. That's not what we want to see here. But it's like the belt is just this plain, like it's a circle It was circular grooves, and then on the side it's got rectangles with rectangular grooves, and you're just looking at it like what is this thing? Like who? Okay, here we go. Here, let me find it. Share, screen share, application window. Here we go. There it is. There's Mick Foley holding that belt, and it looks like a 1950s diner clock. You can see champion is written around the.
Look at those side plates. There's just nothing on them.
Like, yeah, they're just these blank. And I don't know if the idea is they're going to start engraving names on them.
That would be.
But they have to add 3 to them already.
Yeah, unless they were to do it similar to the Stanley Cup, where they just engrave their name, like it's just a bunch of names on the side plates or something.
Yeah, but unlike the Stanley Cup, you can't just add new bases to it every time.
Yeah, that's true. Well, why not? That would be funny. To where it becomes just like this big, huge, heavy thing that no one wants to carry, but they still want to win it.
What I think is hilarious is like you see like this guy back here, he's like
trying not to laugh.
Yeah, like he was clapping until he saw it, and then he's just like he's starting to bury his head in his hands. You can see like his girlfriend here, she's like laughing, like, what the hell? She's looking over here, like, are you watching this? This little kid's like, I don't even get it.
And then the one beside the kid looks like Seth Rollins is just sitting in the crowd.
Just this guy right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just staring at it like
he has a huge neck. Either that or that's like the lady's arm behind him or something.
I don't know what's going on with that. But here's the thing: Mick Foley came out. He sounded like his top row dentures fell out.
Yeah.
His words were slurring. He sounded like a 70-year-old man in a 50-year-old's body.
I mean, he kind of is when you think about it.
I mean, I don't even know how old is he really? Like 46?
No. Definitely older than 46. Mick Foley is 53.
He's 53.
Man.
Okay.
Really?
All right.
Yikes. That's still pretty young.
But for 53, he sure does sound like a guy who's been in the retirement home for a decade already.
Well, I mean, if you got thrown off Hell in a Cell, wouldn't you?
I don't know. But like, how did he lose more teeth? He lost more teeth. Like he didn't sound this bad. When he was doing Holy Foley on the network. Somehow he's lost more teeth.
Did you actually watch that?
I tried watching the first one. Because I mean,
I saw the little teaser thing they put out for him. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
In any show that stars his daughter, I'll watch. Try to watch at least one.
See, for me, it's just too weird because when Beyond the Mat came out, she's just like a little girl saying nipples all the time.
So
I can't get past that.
All right. Well, we all have our thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, this championship, of course, they do it like the old hardcore, 24/7, except they're not beating each other with stuff. It's just they do a scramble.
Yeah.
Whoever can get to the ring first, they're able to take it. So apparently, okay, so here's what happened. Mick Foley apparently walked down to the ring, and while he's on camera and talking, they apparently took Crisco and canola oil and greased down the entire entryway to the ring because not one single person could find fitting to actually get up in the ring for like 5 minutes. You had guys running down and getting to the ring and then struggling just to like get their knee up onto the apron before the guy could run up behind him and hit him in the back. And then they go back to brawling on the outside. Like it was dumb, ridiculous how long it took. And then you finally had Spud, who gets in the ring. I forget what name he's using now, but he's
Drake Maverick.
Yeah, Drake Maverick. He's like gonna go for it, but then he gets kicked out, and eventually Titus O'Neil grabs the belt. So Titus O'Neil grabs the belt, and so he's the first ever champion. So everybody just kind of like quits, I guess. Like, oh, I guess he's the champion.
It's 24/7.
So
you gotta keep going.
So then he leaves the ring and he's going up the ramp, and then he gets attacked by Bobby Roode.
Hey, it's Robert now. Get it right.
Whatever. And for whatever reason, nobody else who came out for the scramble goes after Titus O'Neil. They're like, well, Marmaduke has won this belt. We better back off. So then Bobby Roode comes out, beats him. He takes the belt, runs backstage. So then they do the segment where R-Truth is back there, and Bobby Roode's like, you got to hide me. You got to hide me. So R-Truth opens the trunk. Bobby Roode jumps in. R-Truth shuts it down. All the guys come running out. And R-Truth is like, he went that way. He went that way. So they all run that way. R-Truth opens the trunk, takes Bobby Roode out, walks over to the side door, opens the side door of the car. There's a referee there already waiting. So then he attacks Bobby Roode, covers him. Referee counts 1, 2, 3. He takes the belt, jumps in the car. As he's jumping in the car, he looks at the camera and says, I got to get this European Championship to SmackDown. And he gets in the car and hits the gas.
R-Truth kind of is a bit of a national treasure.
You know, I got to say, of all the people that Vince shoves down our throat, all the people that Vince gets in his crawl, that he's just got to, he's got to show you over and over. R-Truth legitimately entertains me when he comes out for this stuff. He said European Championship, and I did like a spit take. I was literally sitting there, doing whatever, and was just like what? That was great. So at least
he always finds a way to turn. Got to find a way to
turn the hamster pellets back into raisins.
Hey, there you go. I was trying to find a way. I was just going to say chicken poo into chicken salad.
All right. So SmackDown, just real quick.
Nothing happened. Ziggler's back. He's feuding with Kofi.
Big E, Carmella,
They've taken their series of their 647 matches that they've had over the last 10 years for the United States and Intercontinental Championships, and now it's escalated to the WWE Championship. Will Ziggler actually win? That could be a possibility.
Ziggler 10 years ago should have been WWE champion.
Yes.
They did one night where they gave him the belt, and then Triple H took it away from him.
Yep.
And like some executive move or whatever.
And then, he cashed in on Del Rio and then had his concussion issues and then ended up losing so he hasn't had a proper run like he needed to. And then they just continued to book him and I'm really good, but then he loses. Yeah, but I'm the best. And then he loses. And then you just don't care.
Yeah. When he won and then the belt was taken away, they should not have taken it away. He should have kept the belt then, should have been champion and had time, because he could have been somebody. He took a dead gimmick. He was a Spirit Squad leftover. They said, here's your gimmick. You introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah.
And he turned it into the ultimate narcissistic Hollywood elite type, and it became a thing. And because he got over, they buried him, which is what they do.
Yep.
Okay, so SmackDown. We had Carmella in the back looking for R-Truth. Drake Maverick, Apollo Crews were looking for him also. Drake Maverick was putting up R-Truth wanted signs.
Yeah.
R-Truth was wearing a blonde wig. He said he wanted Carmella's help, so then they go away. They come back. They had Carmella disguising R-Truth with a hat. He still had the blonde wig, gave him glasses. She gave him a bra, but he says he needs help because he always has trouble unhooking them. That's class.
See, I want R-Truth to sort of be the Crash Holly.
Well, okay, so apparently Mandy Rose came out with Sonya Deville in her corner for a match with Carmella. R-Truth came out in Carmella's corner, dressed in drag, still carrying the 24/7 championship. Like that is just dumb enough that I may go watch that segment on YouTube.
Yeah.
That is dumb enough that I like it. So of course, then in the middle of a match, a bunch of wrestlers run down. They try to beat off. Try to beat up R-Truth.
Just leave it in. They tried to beat off R-Truth. That's Lita jerking Edge off the ladder.
So they had R-Truth run off through the crowd. They cut to something else. They come back. He's going into the women's locker room. A minute later, they come running out with R-Truth apologizing for running into the women's locker room. A group of wrestlers, they're still chasing after him. And then Sami Zayn is standing there watching everybody chase after R-Truth, and he has a look of disgust on his face. Just standing there with a... All right, so then... okay, let's see. Kyla Braxton. Okay, backstage, R-Truth, Carmella tried running. Jinder Mahal attacked him, rolled up R-Truth for a near fall, But R-Truth fought back and ran off. The B team jumped Truth, but they argued over who got to pin him. So Truth fought back, and Truth and Carmella ran off again. And it looks like maybe that was it for the night. So
I like the idea behind this because they're on so many platforms with like the little stuff that they do on YouTube and having Facebook and
Instagram
and all of the superstars having social media profiles. Because Drake Mavericks, he's on his Twitter.
Yes, I saw that.
I'm stalking him. I'm trying to find him, retweeting with someone on a plane with R-Truth. It's like, oh, hey, it's R-Truth. He's like, what flight are you on? Like, it lends it'll be a lot of fun. Probably not as much.
Well, the problem is whether or not they overkill it. If they overkill it, where they have to do something with the title twice an hour on every hour of live television.
Oh yeah, no, I would agree that it could be one of those things where it might not even be on the show, and just maybe let it dabble in the social media aspect and intrigue people to check out the other avenues. Right. I like the idea behind it, but it's WWE. They're gonna squander it and mess it up.
There's so many creative things that are jumping through my head now that you've mentioned all that, because you could do stuff where while Raw is going on, while SmackDown is going on, those shows are live. So you could have something live pop up, a live stream on YouTube or on Instagram, where it shows them fighting over the belt backstage while a match is like, you could have a guy doing a live interview. During the live interview, R-Truth comes running through, and then they're like, whatever, they keep talking, 5 seconds later, a bunch of guys come running through. Then you pull up YouTube during the commercial break, and there they are, all fighting, doing a live stream.
Yes,
while that's going on. There are some neat, fun things they could do with that. But the Drake Maverick, I remember one of the tweets I saw, he was uploading the video. He's in the drive-through because he heard that R-Truth was in the area. So he pulls up to the drive-through and is asking, the guy behind, the guy in the window. It's like, have you seen R-Truth come through here? And you could tell that this guy had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Like the camera was hidden so you couldn't even see the guy in the drive-through. The guy couldn't see the camera. And he's like, did you see R-Truth come through here? The wrestling champion WWE guy came running through here. And the guy in the drive-through was like, no, I did. You look like a WWE. He's like, no, I'm not a champion. I'm not a WWE champion. No. And you could tell that the guy had no idea he was even, going live on Twitter with this. So yeah, Drake Maverick was doing some fun stuff with that. So again, they could take some of those guys. They could find a spot for Eric Young in this.
Yes. And Eric Young's actually pretty funny. I've seen and stuff in Impact. Well, I'm looking at Twitter now, just looking it up, and an hour ago, there's a video of him at a printer printing out more flyers. There's R-Truth been up for 50-something hours carrying the one hashtag European hashtag 24/7 championship. It can be good, but they're gonna screw it up somehow.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain they're gonna overkill it, but at least for now, this is enough to keep me entertained that I will go to the WWE YouTube channel and watch the clips. I can't say it's enough to make me want to watch 5 hours of Raw and SmackDown.
No.
But yeah, so I will at least keep up with the title because this is at least interesting for now. And technically, every single person holding this belt is a transitional champion.
Aha! Yes. Boom. You know what? You should just take that ugly belt and Photoshop and just make that our new logo.
Oh, okay. I'll see what I can do there.
Yeah.
I'll see. Maybe I can find, Joe does customs. Maybe I can get Joe to run out to Target and buy like the Cruiserweight Championship for $20. And then maybe he could rework it to make a 24/7 championship.
And sell it to you for $200.
Well, maybe he can get a little bit of a discount, like
Joe doesn't do bro prices. Tyler and I already found that out.
That's okay. I've got a Joe custom. I had him. He did for me. I thought it was sitting right here. Where'd it go? It's not right here. Someone moved it. But he did for me in the classics line. They did the Intergalactic Skeletor from the New Adventures of He-Man.
Yeah.
And so I bought one of those, and I had him do a Disco Skeletor.
Nice.
Of that guy. But I thought it was sitting right. Oh no, it's sitting right here. It's right here, back here on the shelf.
Nice.
So here is, if I can get this out without knocking everything else over. Oh, there's my Fletch books. I wondered what happened to those. Yeah, so there's my Disco Intergalactic Skeletor.
Right on.
And he even, you look at this thing, and it took me a while to realize, like at first it's like, oh yeah, he actually did the nameplate on there. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then I realized on the back, he actually redid the backer card. That actually says Disco Skeletor on there, if I can get it to focus. But
nice.
Anyway, so yeah, so this whole back.
Thunderian Battle Cat back there too.
Oh yeah, his so there's the Battle Cat, there's the Royal Armor She-Ra, Slime Pit He-Man, and then the
so you just put all the customs that he's done.
So his Sectars guy is on there.
Yeah.
So he actually does a quality job. So
you're just now noticing this.
No, I noticed it. Like it took me about a day and a half to realize there's more, because I just stared at the figure when I first got it, and about a day and a half after I got it, I kind of wanted to open up the package and take the figure out and look at it, because he had done so much, small detail work on it. So I was actually kind of debating, like he had resealed the package. I'm like, well, he just resealed the package. I'll just unseal it. It's not that big of a deal. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is a custom insert. This is a custom backer card. Like this is way more than just he painted the figure. I was actually really impressed with this. So yeah. So Joe Amato does good customs. There's a lot of people that do great customs out there. Hunter Knight has done some great customs. The guy who did my Disco Jason, which just fell down. It fell down back there. Oh crap! And now I feel bad. I can't think of his name. What is that dude's name? Did me the custom.
I'm gonna say in closing, if you guys are tired of WWE, please give AEW a shot. We'll see how it turns out.
Kevin Walsh, that's his name.
There
Kevin Walsh. He did some discos for me. So
I know they got some good ideas. They're gonna have that battle royal that they've done. They have the whole gimmick with like the cards and stuff. So they're gonna have, hey, these guys draw cards, and then I think it's for each set, like it'll be called out, and it'll be like a group of 4 guys will run down. They'll be in the battle royal, and the winner of that will face the winner of Jericho and Kenny Omega, and that's how they will crown the first AEW World Heavyweight Champion.
It seems super gimmicky, but they kind of have to in order to set things up, because the only other way to do it would be a long tournament.
Yep.
And you really don't want to have a long tournament, especially with some guys that you're not really all that familiar with.
Exactly.
Because the people who obviously are going to be paying $50 for the pay-per-view are going to watch the TV show, but the people watching the TV show are going to watch it because it's on TV. They're not all going to be people who are paying $50 for a pay-per-view.
Right.
So,
and that's what they have to kind of figure out going forward. And with a lot of discontent in WWE and contracts expiring, things are going to get interesting in the next few months. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. So when's the next pay-per-view? What's the next?
We're not. Are we covering Super Showdown? I feel like we shouldn't, because those are usually just throwaway shows.
Yeah, that's the Saudi Arabia, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't really count that.
So
that's like, because technically there was one pay-per-view, even though they canceled Backlash, between WrestleMania and Money in the Bank. There was technically the Shield's Last Stand or whatever was considered one of those events, but that doesn't really count. So the next one will be Stomping Grounds.
How's that one it's called?
June 23rd.
All right.
What? Stomping Grounds?
Stomping Grounds, live from Tacoma, Washington.
Is this like a 205 live show? What is this?
Nope. It's probably just I don't know.
WWE Stomping, the TacomaDome.org presents WWE Stomping Grounds.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there that is.
Starts at 3:30 p.m. Oh, because that's East Coast.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's still 5:30.
No,
here,
it's
right.
no, it's at 3:30 their local time, Washington. So that would be
Yes, 5:30 here, 6:30.
oh, that would be 6:30.
Well, yeah, I'm in a different time zone from you.
Yeah.
So 5:30 for me, 6:30 for you, but
Yeah.
that's still early.
That's probably when the doors open.
Event starts. Oh, that's true, because this is the Tacoma Dome's press release. So
Yeah.
Event starts at 3:30. That may be when doors open. I hope so. I hope it doesn't start on TV at 3:30.
No, it won't.
East or Western. All right. Well, there you go. So that'll be our next one. Will be sometime that week after. That whole week of, actually, I'm going to be at a summer camp. I'm going to be spending a week at a summer camp because someone asked me to, and I couldn't think of a good excuse to get out of it.
Well,
so,
just wear her hockey mask.
Oh, I'm taking one. So I'm guessing 25th, 26th, 27th, sometime in there.
We'll see you in a month.
All right. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Sorry for the mix-up of having to move this to my channel, but I will be putting this on the TCP channel. And then I guess we'll tweet out from that channel. I'll try to get more people to subscribe, but whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, so don't forget, you can go to popculturenetwork.com, lockerroomhq.com, the rest of the Pop Culture Network, thatnewtoysmell.com, vglosers.com, beyondretro.com, fansofpower.com, Beyond Retro Podcast. No, it's beyondretropodcast.com. What else is there? There's too many. We have way too many URLs.
Yeah, we got. Hey, that's all you, buddy.
But anyway, because that was the thing, man. In like 2008, when we put the Pop Culture Network together, that was the thing, is every place had to have its own URL. So it was a big deal back then. But all right. Anyway, see you in a month. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Hands off, dance off.
Beefcake Hall of Fame.
No, he's like, it's done. It's awful.